First of all, I am honored to be speaking with for Tom Ferry. I've known him for 30-something years, and the family. And how it all began is with the next slide I'm going to do. These are properties that you'll see. I just put a collage of properties. It all began with property number 1, and you'll see that was a big estate. It's not something that you would normally invest in, you would live in. It's a property that I bought 17 years into the business, and I was really proud of myself. I was 40 years old, and I thought I had reached the pinnacle of success. I bought this 6,700 square foot estate, and I was throwing these grand parties so I could break into the luxury end in this neighborhood, which I did. And everything was going great. I had a Lamborghini Gallardo, Maserati Quadriporte, I had a Range Rover, I was on reality shows, and I made a lot of mistakes. I went ahead and I refinanced it when it went up to 4.3 million. I bought it at 2.4. To make a long story short, I bought properties number 2 in Big Bear, number 3 in Laguna Beach. I was leasing out Laguna Beach weekly for $20,000 a week and making a lot of money. And I thought I was great, you know? I thought nothing could get to me. And then all of a sudden the Great Recession occurred. And my income was cut in half. And as a result of that, I started, got depressed, I couldn't get out of bed. My mortgage payment had gone up from, it was about $9,000 principal and interest, it was actually interest only loan, per month to $17,000 from the refinance. Plus I had taxes on top of that. And my income, the amount of money I was coming in with was maybe $40,000 a month, where I was used to making close to $100,000 a month. So I was laying off employees and everything. I'd never been so depressed in my life. I actually, hate to say this, but I had suicide ideation, or whatever that word is, because I felt like a failure. And so I'm really exposing myself to you because we've all been through hard times. And as a result of that, I had to sell my triplex, which was in San Clemente, and I owned it free and clear. Today it's worth $2 million. I sold it for $1 million and put money back into my business. I did everything I could to save my business because I worked 17 years for this business. It was, you know, I gave up getting married. I had 3 opportunities to get married, but I loved my business too much. And so I never had children. So when I was going through all this, I kept thinking, who am I without being this top realtor? And, but during this time, I moved into my condo, which is number 5. That was a rental property. So I went from a 6,300 square foot estate down to a 1,630 square foot condo, which was a real shock to me. And today I'm still living in that condo, and I'll tell you why. Because, you know, I want to share you this one quote, and this is by J.K. Rowling. Oh, I'm getting better with my sound. Rock bottom became the solid foundation in which I rebuilt my life. And it's so true. I had to reach rock bottom. And I had to see, I mean, honestly, I believe in God, and this is not about a God thing, but I was so depressed. I was actually put on two 72-hour holds because I was that depressed. And so I was in these, you know, mental places because for 4 years, I struggled with keeping house number 1 because of my ego. And I did not want to have the shame. And then actually I sold it. I did a short sale on that. I did a short sale on property number 3. I moved out, and all the realtors talked about, oh, Lori lost it all and everything, but I didn't go bankrupt. And I didn't get any properties in my farm for quite a few years. So I moved into the condo. I'm still in the condo, and then I couldn't buy for a long time because of my credit. And I actually was very grateful for the experience because it taught me who I am as a person. I'm not just me the top realtor. I was able to go on a hiking trail every morning by that hiking trail. And I was able to, you know, get into my soul and say, hey, I am so happy just having a roof over my head. And I'm so grateful every day. And I say my gratitude every day. But this is getting off the topic. So in 2017, I started listening to a podcast called Bigger Pockets. And it's amazing. Bigger Pockets opened up my eyes, and I knew I could start investing in that time. I did buy the refinance. I was able to keep number 2, which was Big Bear, and it wasn't making any money. I bought it for $550,000. I put $150,000 into it. This is a mistake I made, and I sold it for $550,000. So, and it was a VRBO. And any properties and make them into VRBOs, there's just too much maintenance. And so in 2017, I was investigating all different out-of-state areas to invest in because I knew California was not the area to invest in. The average cap rate, if I was lucky, was 4%, you know, 5%. And I knew I needed more like an 8% return on my money. And the reason why I picked multifamily, you know, my buy box was multifamily because I needed protection this time around. There was no way I was going to go back to where I came from, where I lost everything. And so I thought multifamily is the way to go because even if I lost 50% of my tenants, I would still be okay with my mortgage. I would survive. So with Bigger Pockets, I would listen to people who were firemen and everything, and they had, you know, amassed fortunes. So I said, I can do this. So I looked first at properties or states with no state income tax or low income tax. Because I thought, well, one day I may want to retire in these areas too. And I want to live off the income from my properties. So my long-term plan was to buy properties where I would hold them long-term and I could live off of the income. So investors buy off of either cash flow or appreciation, or they buy off of benefits that they receive from the taxes and everything, or a combination of everything. I was starting to make so much money in 2017, 2018, and I just knew I had to just buy. So I met up with a broker in 2018, and I bought my first investment. And the first investment was number 6 on my list here. And that was a 16-plex in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I personally buy C-class properties. So C-class properties are older, and they need some work. They're, you know, the areas you can still walk in, you know, like I feel safe walking in the neighborhoods. But you know, I wouldn't necessarily socialize with the tenants. I mean, they may be missing a couple teeth, you know, but they rent out constantly. You know, it's 100% occupancy I have at all times. But with C properties, you have to watch your CapEx because you are putting a lot of money into them initially because you're bringing them up to standards. So with the 16-plex, I bought it, and all 1 bedrooms, they were renting out for $500 a month. I bought it for $740,000. Now the rents are $850. The property is worth $1.2 million, and this is just 3 years later. From that, I got hooked on investing. I was calling my broker constantly saying, what do you have? What do you have? Because remember, I was earning a lot of money in real estate. And so the next property, he said, okay, I have a 4-plex. It's $180,000. And I was, $180,000, that's nothing. I don't even have to go out to Chattanooga to look at it. Let's just buy it. So I bought that property, and that property is now worth about $350,000. Then a couple months later, I bought another property, and that's a 23-plex. And there was one issue. You have to be a little careful with some things because you have to find out if you're having like a drug lord or something in one of the units. So we had to get the drug lord out, okay? And I made a mistake on that property because it was in a flood zone. And I did not discover that it was in a flood zone until I flew out to the inspection, and I discovered during the whole inspection, oh, it's in a flood zone. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, the insurance is considerably higher. But I thought, well, they haven't had a flood here in Chattanooga in this area in 50 years, so what's the chances of it happening? Well, you probably have heard about some of the hurricanes that have occurred lately in this last year. Well, that property flooded not once, but twice within 1 week. So I've learned never to buy a property in a flood zone. But at least I had really good flood insurance. I think it only cost me $5,000 altogether, because the second time it flooded, we got blowers in right away. But since then, I put $10,000 worth of drains in, and so hopefully it'll be okay. Then I went to a sixplex, and that was $330,000. So I just got obsessed. So I could keep going on and on and on and on about these properties, and I'll be happy to answer questions after. But okay, the reason why I started is because I wanted financial freedom. I do not want to start all over again like I did. And my own buy box is, when I first started, I just wanted to buy anything. Like I was thinking 4plexes, 6plexes. Now my buy box is 16 units on up. I love 30plexes. Give me a 50plex, but they have more money. One I was just recently in escrow with was $3.3 million. But it was mixed use, so commercial as well. And but I pulled out of it because I found my dream home, which is number 13, and I decided to get out of the condo and buy my dream home. And the only reason why I got out of the condo, I'm getting out of the condo, we're closing escrow soon, is because now I feel comfortable enough that I'm not living on the edge. I always have $1 million in savings, so when I'm buying investment properties, I don't care. I always have a money market account that's about $800,000. So I need that just to feel confident that I could keep investing. And because I was living on the edge too much before. And then, so my goal is to get up to 200 doors. And so I feel like, how a Beverly Hills housewife on one of those shows, how they're so obsessed with their shoes. I feel that way about investment properties. I'm always bugging all the time. And I've called Doug so many times, Doug, what do you have? Tell me. So what I recommend, if your area is too expensive to buy investment properties because cap rates are so high and everything, buy outside. It's all about having boots on the ground. So you have to find a great broker. And don't ask for a referral fee to come back. I never do that. You want them to find you the very best properties. You want a great property management company. Huge. So when I first started with, the properties, generally property management companies they're about 10% of your rental income. I'm negotiating down to 8% because I have so many properties. My goal going forward, as I get more and more properties, and there's financing now I'm going to be talking about as well, because when you have greater than 4 units, you go into a lot of portfolio lending. It's commercial. One of my units, a big one, if you're going to have a large property and you want to hold it long term, you can go like Fannie Mae, you can go Freddie Mac, and there's also life insurance loans that you could do. But you have to hold them long term, and there's prepayment penalties, but you get about 1% lower. But all my other ones are portfolio lender loans, easier to qualify for. You usually have to prove yourself on the first one, so you put 25% down. Everything else is 20% down. Now, a lot of investors do the BRRRR technique, and many of you probably know it. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So, and that's how they keep pulling money out, and they do it faster than I'm doing it. I'm not doing that. I'm not like, I'm comfortable because We're making, like this year, our GSI is 3.5 million. You know, I'm making quite a bit of money. So these are high income earning years for me. And so I'm doing creative things like cost segregation studies on all my properties. And I know Tom has spoken to you all about that. So it helps with my tax situation. But my investment strategy is going to change as I go along because now I'm in C class. As I get up to 200 doors, or maybe even before, I might start getting into B class. You know, the C class are the blue collar workers, you know, and they work at Volkswagen plant. Because in Chattanooga, there's the Volkswagen plant. There's a lot of industry coming into town. And that's the one thing you really want to look for when you're buying out a state is you want to make sure that not one industry is the main employer of that state. You want to make sure it's diversified. So if that one industry, like it's a naval weapons, you know, area, what if it goes away? What if they close it down? Then you are screwed with all of your multifamily. But if it's diversified, then if one company goes away, you're fine. And you also want to see that that state, in that area, is offering incentives for companies to come in. And that's really important. So in regards to what I want to do next is I want to start moving into 50 plexes, 100 plexes. You know, I put a goal of 200 doors, and that's by 2023, I'll have 200 doors. My rate is about 3 properties a year that I want to be buying. And, you know, I might slow down if I'm buying 40 plexes and stuff, like maybe 2 a year or anything. But it's really exciting. I love it with a passion. I'm still running my other business. And people ask me, how do you do it? Because I have good people around me. So I just want to let you know that, you know, if you have boots on the ground, you have a great property management company, you have a great broker, you have, you know, generally the property management company knows all the contractors, and you have the lender is really key as well. They're going to protect your best interest. And then you may want to have someone that you pay $15 an hour in that area, and they just drive by your properties and just take photos for you. Now, I'm very demanding with my property management company. So I expect every week they give me a report. And in that report, they show me every single property, and if any vacancies are coming up, and anytime there's a turn, they go in there within 24 hours of the property being vacant. They have pictures, they have the estimates for me, and so I'm able to look at all the pictures, look at the estimates line by line. I can say, yes, I agree to this, I don't agree to that, and then I can approve while I'm cross country. So that's how I do it, because I still have a couple rental properties in Orange County. They are more of a hassle than all the properties I have in Tennessee, because I got it down to a science with Tennessee. And then I bought a property in Georgia as well. But the one in Georgia is only an hour, or no, it's 1.5 miles across the Tennessee line, so it's really close to Chattanooga. So my property management company can still manage it. So I feel really good about that. So learning lessons. I have learned that I am not good at buying total fixer-uppers. I bought a couple of total fixer-uppers where I had to redo everything. And it was too hard. It was too difficult being so far away. So what I like to do is just improve them as each tenant moves out. I don't want to be replacing roofs. I don't want to be doing that. Especially now, because I bought one in January, and that was property number 21. And I'm still under construction. And because they said, oh, it's going to take 6 months. No, it's not taking 6 months. Half the tenants decided to stay there, and they're at $500 a month. And then I leased out about 4 of them, and they're at $900 a month for the same property. No, but there's a lot of great things I really highly recommend, especially when you're young. If you could start investing and you could do what's called house hacking, just buy you in a house and rent out a room and have that tenant, your friend or whatever, pay for the mortgage. And I'm opening it up for questions now.